Okay, so the next series we're going to talk about is lower body impact. And this is going to be a series of series. And what I mean is the way that this is structured is we're actually going to have a few different threads or a few different streams that you can follow with your impact work. And I'll talk about why we're doing it that way. So one of the things we're really trying to do is we're trying to make sure this program aligns with the best evidence that's out there. And what you'll find is with osteoporosis and bone density and general strength training, a lot of times different study groups will have favorite movements that show up again and again and again. And these movements will often show up in studies done by the same researchers, and once they become popular, they'll show up in other studies by other researchers who are testing validity and reproducibility and things like that. So what that means is when you look at the literature, you have some very specific ways that we can train impact. This doesn't mean that's the only way to train impact. In fact, going outside and going hiking and dancing and skipping rope and doing all these things, trail running if you like to do that, these are all going to be other nice ways to incorporate different kinds of impact. But if we are looking at this from a clinical research perspective, we've got very clear streams of how we can train impact. Now, this particular set of videos is going to be on lower body impact, which is much better studied than the upper body impact, but we'll talk a little bit about upper body impact later. So this series is structured based on recommendations of other studies on impact training and bone density. That's why we have slightly different variations in different series. The basic rule of thumb is we eventually want to work up to ground reaction forces about 3 times your body weight. So that means that every single time when you are walking, all your bones and your muscular system, they are experiencing the weight of your own mass under gravity. So when you're just standing, obviously that's 1 time your body weight. But the moment you start to bring some acceleration by stepping, running, things like that, what happens is because force equals mass times acceleration, essentially the faster you're moving, the more of the impact your body's going to feel. So if we're walking, we're going to have a small multiplier, maybe depending on your gait, maybe you're going up to like 2 times your body weight. But if we start running and sprinting, all of a sudden you could start hitting ground reaction forces much higher, maybe up to 3, depending on your style. Now, if you start jumping, especially as you start to add height, as you're coming down, we can get up to easily 3, 4, sometimes 5 or more times your body weight. So this is often measured in multiplication of your body weight ground reaction forces. So what that means is, oh, well, we're experiencing ground reaction forces of 3 times your body weight or 4 times your body weight, etc. So the general rule of thumb is that once people start training up and they gain familiarity with this, that we want to expose people to about 3 or 4 times their body weight in ground reaction forces, which means that we need to ensure that either people are landing from certain heights or there are other little tricks we can do to increase how much impact your body is receiving, because this impact is going to be the stimulus that we need for osteogenesis to lay down more bone tissue and to improve bone density. You don't have to worry about any of the math on this, okay? You don't need to try to calculate ground reaction forces. Generally, the rule of thumb is once you get up to this, we want to get people comfortable jumping or landing from about 20 to 30 centimeters. So that's anywhere from 8 to about 12 inches. So not super high, but maybe not something you want to go into right away. And that's one of the other big things about the impact training. You want to make sure that you gradually work up to it. You don't want to start jumping off I don't know, the roof of your house on day one, because that's going to be a lot, but you can build up to greater heights. So maybe right now, just stepping off of a book, or maybe stepping off of even just a low step is going to be a lot, or even just coming up to your tippy toes and landing on your heels. But then over time, as long as you don't rush it, you can gradually add in more intensity via height or acceleration. So for many people, we are gonna want to work up to this. There's no rush to go out and start jumping right now. Depending where you are, jumping might not be appropriate for you right away, and that's okay. There is a basic sort of rule of thumb recommendation about how much jumping you want to do, and usually we measure in impacts. So every single time you come down to the ground, that counts as an impact. It could be an impact on one side, could be an impact on the other, could be an impact on both. But basically, you want to get about 50 to 60 impacts in per exercise session, give or take. And then maybe about 300 to 400 impacts per week, depending on your life, depending on where you are, we do want to start getting those impacts in. So other ways you can kind of sneak in those impacts throughout the day is great. One thing we do know about this style of training is the way the mechanoreceptors in your body work, is that you don't just want to do big sets of 50 or 60 impacts all at once. It appears to be more effective if you break this impact into smaller sets of about 10 or so. So that's one of the reasons the program is designed the way it is. The way the program is designed is you do your strength work, then you do 10 reps of impact, then you take your rest, then you do your strength work, then you do your 10 reps of impact, then you take a rest. And what that means is that over the course of every one session, you get about 60 additional impacts in per session. So that's going to be a nice additional dose. Now, it will probably be useful for you to find other ways to incorporate some impact into your life. So we'll talk about that in some of the videos. Impact training seems to have specific benefits in the femoral neck, so sort of the head of your femur as your femur goes into your pelvis, whereas lower spine seems to benefit more from progressive resistance training. So all that progressive resistance training we're doing, the squats and the deadlifts and the hinges and things like that, that's going to have a lot of benefits, but it seems that the weighted progressive resistance training is going to have a lot of benefit in your lumbar spine if we want to get that density in the femoral head, which is really, really important because we definitely do not want to break our femur. If we want to focus on that, it means we need to incorporate some kind of impact. So don't skip the impact just because maybe it feels daunting or whatever, because it's really beneficial. We also know that the quality, the bone quality and the bone density, the effects of training are going to be different depending on the kinds of training. So what I mean is, with impact training, it seems to really be helpful at the distal part of your bone. So for example, if you're looking at my forearm, okay, as the bones of my forearm end right here to my wrist, there's going to be a lot of benefit in impact training at the distal end. So that means the end furthest away from me. So same thing if we're talking about our shin going into our ankle. The bones, the end of the bones of our shin as they meet the bones in our ankle, that's going to be where the benefit of the impact training is at the distal end of the bones, which is really important. With strength training, resistance training, generally a lot of the density and the bone quality changes happen along the shaft of the bone because of the different kinds of forces. So because with the resistance training, we're getting those torsional forces of the muscles and tendons acting on the bone, as opposed to the impact where it's going to be that direct sense of gravity as you're absorbing all that energy. So this is another reason why you really want to get this mixed modal training of the impact and the resistance training, because they both work so well with each other. Really make sure you start nice and easy and take your time on this. Give yourself days off if you need to. So what I mean is, when you first start a program, maybe you're going every other day or 2 days of rest, 1 day of work, whatever. Just see how your body's feeling. And if you start working in a lot of impact right away, you might just kind of find that, maybe you're just feeling a little creaky, or you just sort of feel, tired or maybe stiff or whatever. Just back off of it from a little bit for a little bit, and then build it back up. Don't get at this point where you're trying to do impact training 7 days a week without any kind of rest, because remember, your body recovers when you're resting. That's when it lays down all the new tissue. So you're going to be getting stronger during your rest period. The work is the stimulus, but the rest is when you have the opportunity to build everything back up again. So don't skimp on rest. And if you are feeling like it's a bit much, just take a day or two off and get back into it. The other thing I want to talk about is the impact training is not meant to be conditioning. We're not trying to do high reps to get you out of breath. Don't conflate this with high intensity interval training or boot camp or any other kind of modalities that you might have done. So you probably will get a little bit tired from doing the impact training. It does get quite huffy puffy, but that's not the main point. That's why we're not giving you 50 jumps in a row. We're not trying to turn this into a boot camp thing. We're not trying to make it like burpees or something like that. What we're really trying to do is just give you a good dose of impact so you get all the benefits, but don't chase it just as conditioning for the sake of conditioning. If that's something you want to work in another part of your life, that's totally okay. But remember, the goal for this program is to build up strength and to build up bone density and bone quality. So that's what we're going for here. So don't get in the habit of doing 50, 60 jumps in a row, because you're not going to have the benefits that we're going for. There might be other benefits, but it's not what we're shooting for. So Like I said, the section has different progression series, and again, these different progression series are reflecting different parts of research. So that might be why it looks like there's some overlap for some. So what I mean is working on the heel drop, when you're doing the heel drop, that might look like a little pre-jump extension movement. And they're going to be complementary, but they're going to have slightly different emphases. So just keep that in mind. So the progressions are going to be heel drops. With the heel drops, we're just going to start off with little heel drops and then gradually raising up, and you're dropping down. And those are designed in such a way so you really feel a lot of impact when you drop. That's the point. It's not how I would normally teach landing, but that's not the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is to maximize the impact that you get with a small amount. That's why you're landing on your heels and not trying to absorb the energy. The heel drops, if you're interested in them, and if you are interested in eventually doing more weightlifting and kettlebell work, you can go ahead and go into what's called a triple extension drop, into a weighted triple extension drop. So a weighted triple extension drop is when you're down here, your knees are bent, your hips are back, and you explode up, and you come down, and you're holding something heavy on each side, so it increases the impact you're getting. That's quite an advanced movement, so don't feel like you have to move up to these. For pretty much all of these variations, the exception being the drop jumps, you're going to have a version that will be completely appropriate for people who have osteoporosis. So just stick with the lightest version of each of these until you gradually progress over time. It can take a long time to lay down bone density. So when we say a long time, we might mean like over the course of months, not just days or weeks. So take your time. After the heel drops, we're going to go on to jump extensions, which at first will just be getting people ready to jump. After the jump extensions, in that same series, we're working on vertical jumping, gradually adding more and more height as we do the vertical jumping, and then possibly adding in different directions that we can play with as well. After the jump extension vertical jump series, we're going to have the drop jump series with a height progression. I really like the drop jumps. This is when you stand on a low platform, imagine a step or something, you step off and you immediately jump. These are really, really nice. They're very precise. What I mean is you have a lot of control over how much impact you're receiving. So once you get comfortable with jumping and landing, I would definitely suggest that you spend some time getting comfortable with those and progressing that series. After that, we have the gait series in place. When I say gait, I mean like walking, stepping, running, so bipedal locomotion. And this includes marching in place, stomping in place, running in place, also side skaters for some more lateral forces. And then we're also going to include some outdoor movements like skipping, stepping stones, leaping, just doing fun things. Because remember, a big part of this program is once you get comfortable, we do want you to go in the outside world and do the things that you love to do, whether it's dancing or skipping rope or trail running or hiking on uneven terrain, all these different sorts of things. So go ahead and look through these different series. The way that you choose these, you can just choose one variation. You can do it throughout the week. If you want a bit more variety, you can choose from the different streams. So what I mean is in the first workout of the week, you could do a heel drop series. In the second workout you do in the week, you could go ahead and do a jump extension series. You could start off with very, very low drop jumps into rebounds, but you can wait off on those for a little bit if you're not confident. And then you can start off doing some gait work, so starting off with some simple marching and then adding in stomping and things like that. You're going to find that certain ones appeal to you. If you like just one or two of those variations, you can focus on them and just slowly progress them over time.